Hello, and in this video I'm going to be comparing the Tournament of Sources and the Tournament of Elements from LEGO Ninjago. I'm going to be taking a look at the similarities, the differences, and everything else they both have to offer. So let's get started. The big similarity, of course, is they are both two big tournament arcs that take place within the LEGO Ninjago timeline. They also both share the plot point that the loser will lose their elemental powers. However, it's different in the goal behind the losing of the elemental powers. In the Tournament of Elements, however, the powers were secretly being rounded up to conduct an evil plan. While the Tournament of Sources, it was presented differently and it was a way to actually embrace the other elemental powers. And they're very similar character arcs as well throughout the tournament. For example, the obvious links between Kai and Skylar and Wildfire and Roby. These relationships are very similar because the fact that Wildfire reminds the audience of a Season 1 to 4 Kai, where she is very hot-headed and quick to temper. And the similarities between Roby and Skylar are the fact of how the ninja communicate about them in the season. This can be seen from when Skylar was found out to be the traitor in Season 4, how the ninja reacted to that. And then when Aaron starts to piece together the fact that Roby might be connected to the death of these dragons, we see a very similar stance that Skylar received. However, Skylar's character is much better in this aspect because of course the fact she was this traitor while Roby wasn't. Skylar's character was actually allowed to develop, however Roby's character was only there to attention subvert, so it feels like if they were to bring him back they would need to give him a whole new purpose. There is of course the other big similarity of the fact of one of the ninja is not present at the tournament. This can be seen by how in the Tournament of Elements all the ninja bar Zane competed, well this was because he was being used to lure the ninja there. While in the Tournament of Sources Kai isn't there because he is trapped in nether space. But Zane being used to bring the ninja there was a good plot point, as if it wasn't there, Garmadon might have warned them not to go, therefore not allowing that season to happen. While the ninja decided to go to the Tournament of Sources to solve a mystery, and this mystery could have potentially spelled danger for the Source Dragons. And another similarity is the fact that Elemental Masters are shared between the seasons. This is a good way, however, just to link Ninjago Dragons Rising with the actual base story of Ninjago, as it allows the audience to see older characters they wouldn't have potentially seen, and it gives the showrunners the potential route to develop these characters more and add interesting, unique stories for them. And lastly, even though they both weren't there for a long period of time, there was a presence of an evil ninja in both plots. Because in the Tournament of Sources we did have Evil Jay, and he was built up through all the marketing campaigns, so we did know he was going to be there. And in the Tournament of Elements, it happens when Kai gets corrupted from the staff, even though this is only for a really small amount of time. These similarities actually show how alike these two tournaments are, and I do think they take from each other really well, and they do add a lot to the story around them. I do feel as if the Tournament of Sources actually does do well with the similarities, however some of them are pure coincidental, like an evil ninja and the ninja being lost. That is purely coincidental in my opinion. So now let's get into the differences. Now I did cover this a bit in the similarities, but I do think the biggest difference is actually how the elemental powers are taken and used. Because in the Tournament of Sources, the elements are used to honour the Source Dragons, so you actually gain the elements of the people you defeat. This is a really good idea in my opinion, as it really just allows us to see how people add their own spin onto the elemental powers and actually allows us to see new elemental powers combined together. I would make one change, and that would be you get a different power instead of your own. For example, when Nia defeated Jay, let's say she would then change to Quake, or she would change to Wind, something like that, as it will allow them to actually experiment with the ninja using other elemental powers. Other than that, it's a really good idea what they've done. Another one of the big differences is that the antagonist doesn't directly run the tournament, as Raz and his people actually operate on their own. While I know Belect is connected to Raz, he actually isn't directly involved in running the tournament, and this became a really fresh idea in my opinion, as it just meant the ninja were actually able to communicate with the person running and they were being unbiased. However, the things against him were being biased, it just wasn't out of his control. Another smaller difference is of course we do get some new elemental masters in there. You've got Cinder, of course the new elemental master of Smoke, and then you've got a couple others. This as well just shows the fact that Dragons Rising are just adding to their own world and just really allowed to create what they want. And then of course another big difference is the growing protagonist cast here, because now we have Ryu, Sora, Aaron and Wildfire added to this. This has been the one thing that's let me down a bit about Dragons Rising. I really do not like the big ensemble protagonist cast. Now I did like when it was just 6 ninja, but of course now we're up to like 10, it really doesn't feel good for me. I feel like if they split them off into groups more often and it was kind of broken down, but when it becomes this big ensemble cast I really don't enjoy it as much as I do when they're separated, because then the characters are actually allowed to star in their own moments. And Another thing I liked was the fact that as well there was non-elemental spectators, because in the Tournament of Elements it was closed off and there was only really Chen's people spectating, but with the Tournament of Sources it was really opened up and we were allowed to see a more realistic reaction to the ninja's powers, and it actually allowed us to get behind it a bit more because you see this more humanistic one where they don't have their powers. And then I don't know if this difference was just me, but I also did notice the fact there was a kind of a contrast in the conflict and then solving of conflicts in the seasons. Because the Tournament of Elements actually solved the issues between Jay and Cole, which was a big thing at the time, especially from season 3. And the Tournament of Sources actually caused more problems for our ninja group, mainly just Aaron and his reaction to the other ninja, because he's ruined his relationship with Sora, and especially with Lloyd, because he's gone off with Roz as well, but he also had this really negative reactions to them. This is a good difference, because I felt if the Tournament of Sources tried to solve conflicts that weren't there, it would cause more problems. But I do feel like it was needed for the Tournament of Elements, because we were coming at a time where, of course, they just lost Zane, fought the Overlord for a second time, and they all took a step back from being a ninja. And the final difference was actually the setup of the battles. Because the Tournament of Sources was purely 1 versus 1 combat, while in the Tournament of Elements we had multi-matches as well. This was good because I felt the Tournament of Elements actually added a unique spin with this multi-man combat, and I feel like it did it really well. Well, I do feel like the Tournament of Sources, if they tried something like that, wouldn't have worked. And there was also the re-entering clause that the ninja used, which wouldn't have been in the Tournament of Elements. That was a good way just to also have that high tension and then release. I feel like the differences as well between the seasons was actually really refreshing, because I felt if they copied and pasted the Tournament of Elements again, it would have got really stale and actually devalued the Tournament of Elements as well, because I felt they couldn't add anything unique to it. I do feel like though, since there's no transition from Season 1 Part 1 to Season 1 Part 2, it's kind of unrefreshing, and you actually don't get to grasp how important this tournament is, because it's kind of just jump to jump. There is no development between the characters as well, which actually could have made the conflict that Aaron brings up more potent and actually more powerful. In my opinion, the Tournament of Elements is still the better tournament. I just feel like it adds more for the ninja, and it was the original one as well, and it was really simple and it was done so well. The Tournament of Elements as well actually developed the ninja much more in my opinion, because it actually meant instead of hitting things hard, they had to think about it. And it presents them with conflict that they shouldn't just hit head on. I feel like they also really use this element in the Tournament of Sources. As you can see, the other ninja actually not take their opponent on head on seriously, they actually try and tactically take them on. However, for our younger ninja and the newer recruits, you can see the fact they want to hit things head on, like how Wildfire tried to do it with Cinder. They have yet to have the development of when they should take on things with more tactical approaching. I do feel like the Tournament of Sources as well didn't actually give us what we wanted. This can be seen by how they wasted Evil J, Cole and Zane in this season. They really have them go out early, and it really shows they didn't care for these characters as much. If I could make a change to the Tournament of Sources, what I would do is I would have had it 3-way matches with point scoring. So basically, Nia would face, let's say, Lloyd and Sora one time, and then whoever won would get 3 points. Whoever came second got 2, and whoever came last got 1. You would play those 3, you would fight you 3 times, and then whoever had the most points would actually go through. Second would go through another qualifying stage. Just to basically like add that bit more tension and actually allow the ninja to lose without consequences for a bit. But then when they have to actually lock in and then fight hard, you actually see that through their emotions. But then again, this is all just my opinion. If you do disagree with me, please leave it in the comments. Once again, if you do have any suggestions for videos you'd like me to see in the comments, please do say. I'm really just trying to learn this whole thing. And thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Please leave a like and subscribe.